Okay, hold on, people. Give me 1 second. I'm having some technical difficulties learning how to work this. Okay, so I wanted to have a frank discussion regarding womanhood. And what I mean by that is, um, in my opinion, it has certain requirements. It has prerequisites also, things you have to do beforehand. We as a culture don't really have our rites of passages in place, and we aren't actually connected anymore to the rites of passages that were in the home continent of Africa. We're far removed from that. We've had, as a people, additional experiences and additional things that we've noticed, that we've done, that we've had. Hi, Corey Lee. Hey, real life. How are y'all? um, we've had different things happen to us, so we can't always follow everything that was there, and we're not necessarily going to know what all they've done anyway, and they don't really do all of those things anymore either. So I do feel that we need to develop our own based on what we can do and what we have available. So why not start with just the discussion of what all we think womanhood is? So there's two branches of that in my opinion. The first is femininity. And overall, I feel like there's a softness, a grace, having some class and standards. And yes, that's going to include some of the things that we've learned by living here in America. Oh, hi, Third Ward. Hey, fam. Play cousin. We have to do this irrespective of money. So I don't think it should be contingent on money. For everything that a person who has a lot of resources can do, there does exist a cheaper version. And as long as it teaches the same lesson, once a person gets money when they're older, or in the case of a woman, if you marry someone who has resources and money, you would still understand the underlying tone of it, the underlying attitude. You just would have the resources available to do it in a bigger way. What I think that means is, if you have less money, it doesn't have to cost you in terms of class and softness. If you've ever noticed that there's a lot of people, there's a lot of physical aggression in places of poverty, right? Well, that's because they're fighting over resources, because the belief is that you need that specific thing in order to be able to achieve or to do something. Hey, Ray J, how are you? Oh, so that means that you're going to be needing money. I talked in the last video about adorning yourself with things that are shiny, having your hair a certain way because it gives the appearance of money. I think that we need to get away from appearances that speak to money, whether you have money or not. But we do have to understand how it's used. And so for us as a culture, it should be used in a certain way, one that promotes healing, one that promotes progress, one that promotes a sense of homeostasis and being at ease. Hey, Sheila, you made it. See, told you I was going live. um, there's supposed to be a sense of stress free in being a woman. I personally like and enjoy being a woman. When I talk to men and when I see what my male cousins, my male friends, family members, my dad and uncles, when I see what they go through and what all they're responsible for, I know it might sound selfish, but I am happy that I am not responsible for those things. I am happy that I get to be somewhere and sit and be quiet. I am happy that I'm allowed to do that. There was a video earlier, I can't remember which platform I saw it, where a guy was saying that he was married to his wife for 18 years. She has never paid one mortgage bill or bought a morsel of food for the house. He was proud of this. The other man ripped him to shreds, and even women were calling her lazy, telling her she should have chipped in. He was proud of the fact that he never needed to have her help. In my opinion, it doesn't mean that she wouldn't have helped him. It doesn't mean that she couldn't. He was proud that he did what he needed to do as a man so that he never had to be put in that situation. Let him be proud of that. That makes him feel that the things that he did, even when times might have gotten hard, he was able to pull it off and didn't need the help from somebody else. What's so wrong with that? Right? That's my opinion. So we're supposed to be stress free. And if men value our beauty, that keeps the wrinkles away. It also helps us with our health so that we're not adding on additional bills. We also would have time to look into things to keep the health up of the entire family. And I'll get to that a little bit later when I talk about motherhood. So, in terms of being feminine, as a woman, we avoid pain. I've asked men and I've had conversations with them. Oh, hey, Kenny made it. Hi, how are you? Um, I've asked men what is it that their overall life goal is. What's the underlying thought that permeates most of their decisions? I've gotten different answers, but what I can say is that in terms of women, usually it's to avoid some type of pain, emotional, physical, things of that nature. We have natural pains that are going to happen in life. So we don't like to add in additional contrived pain. Now, there are exceptions to that rule. These are women that have gotten outside of their femininity. And the reason is because now they feel comfortable with that pain. That's their new homeostasis. And that's a sad thing because that means that during their formative years, they've developed a pain tolerance. It's higher than others. We see these videos where the women are fighting and pummeling each other. Has anybody ever asked why they're capable of going through that? And sometimes they don't even have a scratch on them. And it becomes a skill. That is because they were able to develop a higher pain tolerance than women who did not have to go through that. At some point, they've learned that they won't die, that they can get through it. When kids avoid pain, when we avoid pain, once we are old enough to know what death is, we think pain ends in death. That's why you can scare little kids easy. But toddlers don't know that. They just got here, right? So they have to learn what death is first. And then once they learn that, that's what they think pain is going to end in. So they avoid it. And women keep that while men are ushered into a place where they're able to overcome that and go through it. They accept that death is part of their life. We are taught to not. We don't end, like, we try not to end life. We keep life. We nurture it, we feed it, and we help life to develop. It's going to require both. So once the act of combining a life is finished, once we've left the chemistry lab to make the to make the new person, and that's just, you know, comedy. So once we've done that, the women keep the life, and then they nurture it and they feed it and help it to grow. Now, we don't actively kill things. We just withdraw those actions and allow it to die. We don't do the things that we do in order to keep it. So we do have kind of a part in that decision, but it's not as active as a man's part in that decision would be. So we prepare for the natural pains and any contrived pain, anything that, like, something as simple as stubbing your toe. We don't like that. We prepare for it. Men learn to not only not worry about it, but to be able to handle it and get through it with minimal crying and whining about it. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there's a thing I've noticed that women don't do that men do, is that we look around our surroundings to make sure that there's either A, an exit plan to safety, or either B, minimal ways for us to be harmed. Men are taught not to let that stop them. So that's, we are different. We have different roles, and that was decided by nature, something above us, something that created all of this big spinning ball and everything to come together without our input. So it's just, that's just what it is. It's something that should be taken as a given. So another part of femininity is I arrange and I utilize things that are there. I do not gather or wrangle anything. These are the things I notice, that there are men out there, grown male adults, that don't know what femininity looks like. There's a concern that women are going to be like selling fake femininity. But if you know what it is at its core and you know how to recognize it, you won't be fooled by fake femininity, because it's going to have to be something that are in the other parts of her life that she doesn't know that you're watching. It's hard to fake because it has to just be within you. Think about the things that make her upset. Think about her triggers. What are the things that she gravitates towards when everybody's even quiet? Even if she's sitting down on the couch in a nice little church dress with legs crossed, right? Even if she's curtsying to everybody that walks in the room. When she thinks nobody's watching her, when she thinks that she's off, what are her interests? Where does her attention draw to? And now there are going to be times where we're not able to practice this. I'm not telling you guys that any woman outside of this is not a woman. What I am saying is this is what we would love to be. And women who can't practice this have had something to pull them out of it. It is possible for her to get back into her femininity, but it is going to take space away from the trigger, the thing that brought her out of it. It was something that was acted on. So we, as the women, the feminine version of our species, we receive. We draw things into us. We do not go towards anything. Nothing in nature says that about men versus women. What natural occurring thing do you see where the feminine version is going outward to anything? It's all about internalizing, drawing, receiving. So her being outside of her femininity, she was most likely pulled out of that. I know it sounds like I'm blaming men, but that's not what I'm saying. It could be circumstance, it could be nature, it could be handicap of some kind, anything. But if you decide that I'm saying that it's men, if you probably were a man that did that. The absence of the things that we need and require, the absence of stability, is a natural occurrence, something not that just, was already going to be here on earth, but something that happened with no fault of anybody. And that was a thing that acted on her and pulled her out of it. So therefore, I think that if we look at women through this lens, we'll be able to understand what makes them tick. There are a lot of men that complain about not being able to control the women in their life, that they won't submit. Well, these are usually the reasons why. There's something acting on her in that moment to where she does not have to or does not see a need to do so. Find out what that is, and that's your answer. But what I notice is that it's not that hard. A lot of guys just quit. They just give up and walk away. So you possibly could have, but decided not to. That's not what I view as masculinity. One last component of femininity is, most of the time we're the more spiritual of the two. The reason is because we have slow, deliberate movements naturally. We have time to, you know, to survey our environments. We have time to connect and pay attention to things. Most of our rituals, what is the biggest complaint that men have about women, right? We take too long, especially if we're getting ready to go somewhere. Anything that is cleansing or anything that is seen as preventative, we have sort of rituals to do these things, and it takes a while because there's a connection to the ritual. You do not want a woman who can rush through those things. Even if she's on autopilot, it still probably takes the same amount of time. If you have a woman that is rushing through things and that she's on autopilot all of the time, there is a problem. So if women are watching the men that they're with for little small changes and subtleties, and you guys want to know how do women know things, is because we pick up on small changes, nuances, things that are different, because that is a cause for alarm. Something is changing. and we're used to having slow, deliberate movements. We have lots of rituals, and these are the reasons why. Some men can participate in, and some they cannot. So I also hear a lot of men get nervous when they're talking to women. They get nervous and they're concerned, and that's what I think is behind. I think she's gonna, show fake femininity just to get me trapped. Well, if we, there are lots of men who don't like women who are religious or spiritual. That allows her to connect to something higher than herself. It keeps her looking at the bigger picture. Whether you believe in it or not, it does help. It's somebody that she has to answer to even when you're not looking. It reinforces the moral code that you're going to love for her to bring into your life. It's a deterrent for certain behaviors. She's going to have to answer to somebody to whom she cannot lie to, even if she lies to herself. So my advice is just to calm down. Part of what I was taught masculinity is for you to already know that death is possible. So what's the worst that she could do? What's the worst that a woman could ever do to you? If you lose money, you can make the money back. And once you make back the amount of money that she stole, for lack of a better word, her actions are irrelevant. Don't internalize what happened. Just keep the lesson from it. So when I'm speaking to people, I'm usually speaking from this view. I've had my share of disrespect because of these thoughts. Oh, hey, Raining Woman, how are you? Oh, and y'all hooking up in my chat. See, that's what this is. This is love and healing right here. Congrats. And I want an invitation. Um, so I think that when we stay in that area, today I'm not speaking to the men about what they're supposed to do. That's not what I'm doing today. When we stay in this area, we can't worry about what the men are doing because it stands out more and other people will see it, and then you don't have to mention it if you're remaining in your place where you're supposed to be. So wisdom is hearing and including both. It's being symbiotic. That's what my view is of femininity. Secondly, motherhood. One of the biggest roles that we can play. And so I like to explain motherhood as a specific assignment of another life from start to finish. I know, sounds like a lot, but once you have a child, and this also, I just want to let y'all know, is that it doesn't have to only be blood related. This is for step parents. This is for foster parents. There's also different levels of mothering. To mother is a verb, and the noun mother describes a titular place in somebody's life, in their existence. We have forms of motherhood. We have aunties, we have grandmothers, we have mentors, anybody that is doing the feminine oversight in your life. And so from start to finish, eventually independence is going to replace direct guidance. And it goes from constant supervision and teaching to troubleshooting and consulting at will. There is an age at which you are going to have to let go. And for a woman, that is hard to do. We usually have a problem with not being so involved. But I think we need to also realize that not being overly involved, A, means that we did a good job, and B, is still a form of involvement. And what I mean by that is that there will be times that they will call you. So you are still learning and preparing for that role, even when your kids are an adult. The age at which you have to let go of your child should not be when they hurt you. The age of that is when you feel or when you have proof that they are capable of winging it, when they are capable of making decisions that will speak to their natural role in life. That may be 25 according to the science that we have available right now when the brain stops forming. But if you are a parent that taught your kids like hands-on and kept them busy and helped them find their passion and their place in life, you might be able to do it a little earlier in exchange for more intense labor earlier. For the ones that wasn't as intense earlier in their life, you might have to let go a little bit later. But for the purposes of this conversation, we'll just say around age 25, right? So at that moment, they're going to call you. And let's say that they're 35, right? And they have questions about something medical in their 30s. They haven't gotten there yet. You have. You still now can consult at will. And I can tell you right now, I'm going to be the type of mom with my kids being grown. I'm charging. You're bringing me food and taking me on a spa day if I'm giving advice, because you're going to come see me in person to ask me any consulting questions. Okay. That's just what I'm going to do. Oh, hey, Aries Queen. How are you? I usually don't let Aries in my chat, but I'll make an exception for you. Oh, and hey, Wolf and Beta Clothes. Nice to see you dropping by. And I think I spoke to him. If I didn't, let me know. I want to tell y'all I appreciate you guys dropping by. Okay. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Okay. So a mother is a 24/7 example of femininity that I spoke about as an experience. The kids, they're the recipients of this experience, and the girls are going to bond with that experience. They're going to emulate that experience and practice it, and then they're going to join that experience. The boys are going to view that experience. They're going to feel it and then require it when they become an adult. It's important, and it is, in fact, a job. It should be taken seriously. Once again, there are requirements and prerequisites, and it doesn't always have to happen through giving birth. We have lots of people who don't have kids, who have helped and had a hand in and watched and practiced raising younger siblings, who I don't know, have had after school work at a daycare. I do know somebody that did that. Lots of different things. It's not pass fail like people describe it. It's a continuum, and it has many contributing factors. It has many variables. The hope is that you're old enough and you have been taught and brought up and gotten through that age where now you can wing it, where now you can answer questions on the fly, so that whatever it is in your environment, once you have children, you'll know what to do. And it does not come with a manual, because it's only for those who can think. Sorry. It should be done in the company of a father, as well as more mothers and fathers. And now, the reason I say that is because the opposite is going to be true for the experience of masculinity. The boys will bond and join, and then the girls will view and require. Couple factors that are important in terms of motherhood. One is existence. Does it happen? Unfortunately, we are also dealing with a lot of people who never had mothering. It matters how it's done. Is it done coarsely? That's their experience of femininity, is coarse. We have women that say, "Oh, I am definitely a woman because I get it by any means." That was their experience. That's not what's supposed to happen. But I do think that there needs to be some understanding that that's where that comes from, and it came at an impressionable time. It's hard to break that, but it can be done with all of our help, because this does affect all of us. Make no mistake about that part. So existence, does it happen? How does it happen? Why? Why does it happen? Why did you get a mother? What is the point? Like, what's your mother's reason for having kids? I don't know about you guys, but I grew up and asked the question, why was I born? And lots of other kids ask some variation of that. What is it that your parents were going to achieve by giving birth to you? That's how we know who was a oops baby. That's why we have problems with single parents. That's why we, have all of these different thought processes, because it does have an impact on the person's adult behaviors. When? When did you get mothering? Did you get mothering when you were a child and could use it and you could focus on it and actually internalize it? Or did you have no mother until you were an adult and now there's a mother coming in? When did you appear in that mother's life? Did you show up at 6 years old? Did you, because this is a different, it's not the birth mother, possibly. Did you show up after a traumatic experience? Was your mother older so she had more patience? Was she young so she had more energy? These things help to formulate a person's personality. And so there are things called personality disorders. And what that means is the person's personality is out of the order that will be helpful for them and the rest of society. Where were you mothered? Who did it? Was it the birth mom? Because that, let's just be real, that is the best option. Now, in absence of her, there's going to be more questions about why. So that's pretty much what I had available to discuss today in terms of femininity and also motherhood. So, okay, so I did not figure out how to invite anybody up on the panel, but before I even have to do that, does anybody want to come up and talk and give their point of view? Because the last thing that I have available is I can talk about my experience in being feminine and also having a mother. I mean, and having a mother and also being a mother. And then I feel like it would just be very it would seem kind of arrogant and boring just for one person to do it. I'm scared to say anything with everything that's been going on at YouTube. Uh, mm, yeah, lots of stuff. Oh, hey, Tony Smith, how are you? Well, thank you, real life. I try to be. And yes, thank you, Kenny. I practice. I'm actually not a naturally speaking, but I practice. Try to get rid of this. I'm from Texas, so I know y'all hear some of the southern drawl in there, but I'm working on it. And who got wings and then bring me? You know what? Never mind. See, because y'all selfish. Okay, so there's a question from Wolf and Beta Clothes. What do you believe the purpose of femininity is? Well, I believe that it does not have a purpose outside. Okay. So Raining Woman's going to come up and I am going to try to figure out if anybody knows how before I start pressing buttons, then please type it in there because this is the first time I've had that. So what do I believe the purpose of femininity is? Well, I believe that it is doesn't have a purpose outside of masculinity because for whatever reason, none of us were born until there were two different genders, right? So I think that the purpose of life is for us to learn how to get along and coexist. And I want to talk also about where this goes further for the interpersonal reactions for between men and women. And so that I said all of that to say it is the recipient version. Because if we didn't have names for genders, there's always where there's an in, there's an out. And in one of my first videos, I talked about how once an idea is created, its opposite is automatically created by the absence of or undoing. So, in my opinion, it is the absence of masculinity and vice versa. It is the yin to the yang. It's the other side. We're split in half, and we're two sides of a coin that have to come together if we ever want to repopulate and survive. It's the key to what we're supposed to be here to figure it out. So, does that answer your question? Is that what you had in mind? And what do you think about that answer? I like hearing from Wolf and Beta Clothes. He usually has good information. Okay, thank y'all, because I'm concerned about how to work all of this. And thanks about my accent because I do worry about that. Okay, so how do I don't want to press anything. Oh, you know what? Okay, so Raining Woman, if I would love to hear your view on this. And so while I'm talking about my view first, before you get here, can you um, send me your email, because then I can send you the link. And yes, Corley does have a good smile. Y'all owe me an invitation, all right? Yes, that's what I mean, wolf in beta clothes. It is complementary to masculinity. I also can say that it is in a position of second to masculinity, because you guys are on the front lines and then we're there like handing you supplies because I don't want to get shot. And you know, that's just, me trying to add some humor to it. But that kind of does, um, that kind of does describe what it is that I believe and how I live my life. Mm-mm. Okay, so in terms of me and my femininity, so the person that babysat me was my grandmother. And so anytime out of school, things like that, she was the one that was there who took care of me, and she would always tell me stories about her life and her siblings and things like that. And so I just really, really loved her. She was very tender with me. This is the person who would rock me to sleep when I couldn't sleep. Like maybe 4 or 5 years old, I do remember if I had a nightmare and she was staying with us, then I started faking nightmares so she could come in and like just bounce the bed until I went to sleep. And so I remember she would get up every morning, whether we were going somewhere or not. She didn't even ask, and you got dressed. She didn't, like, I guess because she was older, she didn't really wear makeup. This is when I had, like, my grandmother was, when I was a kid, she was in her 50s. So she got up. She didn't really wear makeup anymore because at this point she was now a widow, so she didn't feel the need. She spent a lot of time in church. She had friends that she would go and do little things in the community with. Um, there was a full dress. There was stockings and there was shoes, but not worn in the house, just in case that anybody dropped by. The way she explained it to me, um, you know, she explained it to me as, people might call, and or either they might be passing by and they would drop by. See, there were no cell phones back then, so they were either out and about and decided to come visit you, and you needed to look presentable. So there was not a whole lot of just laying around the house in like scarves and pajamas. And if she saw people going to Walmart in pajamas right now, it just, like, the rest of my days she would be lecturing them. So, things like that. That's kind of where my view of what a woman should be started. When, like, there was always the hair curls, the dresses with lace, special occasions, the bigger dresses, and then, sorry, y'all. I think I'm catching a cold because the weather keeps changing here. So there was always a certain code of conduct. And she didn't yell. She just would look at you very disapprovingly, and then you somehow knew you couldn't ask her for anything until you figured out what boundary you had crossed. Now, with me, I was able to be there with her all of the time and ask her from a very young age, well, what's so wrong with what they did? Because I didn't know any different. And it was a lot. It was a lot of people just doing things that she did not approve of or appreciate. So, I got to learn why. That's kind of what it is that I do. I get up, I get dressed, unless, you know, it's cold outside, because I'm not going out there anyway and nobody's coming to my house. So I do it within reason. I don't still do the same thing because in this day and age, it would look very weird. It would be now causing more problems because there's going to be questions, there's going to be accusations of being bougie and all of this. So that was my introduction to femininity and womanhood, and I did that throughout my childhood. Once I got to high school and I got to buy my own clothes, I did have this one year, like ninth grade. Ninth grade, I felt like I would just, wear a bunch of jeans. I would wear like the little button-down shirts. Everybody else was doing it, so I went through my little, I guess you could call it, tomboy grunge dressing phase or whatever. That was also when TLC was out, so I don't know, maybe that had something to do with it. But that lasted one year. After that, I even wore heels to school. So, you know, in terms of femininity, womanhood. I have always been in a relationship of some kind, unless I, was taking a purposeful year or two to be single just to get that person's everything out of my life before going into a new relationship. I can't jump to a new relationship very quickly. It's hard for me to do. The reason is because a lot of the things that I'm doing can be picked up on as because a man was there. So, how do they know that they're getting to know me if they're getting to know the last guy that I was dating? That was my view on it. Plus, I needed time to have clarity to make sure that I actually believe still what that person wanted me to do. So some things I keep and some things I don't. Let's see. Historic evidence. What I miss? Oh yeah, see, and on this channel, this the love and healing channel. It's matches being made all up and through here. Mm-hmm. Um, oh yeah, okay. So then in terms of being a parent, so I do have two children. I have my daughter, and I had her first. I was 19, younger, had more energy, lots of stuff. We did so much stuff. We were always getting dressed up. We were always going somewhere. And that's what I taught her. I ended up teaching her those same value systems. When I had my son, I was 25, and so he got to see the calm, more relaxed version of me. And in a way, I kind of am glad that that's the way it went, because my daughter got to see the energetic part of being a woman, the things that we do move for, the things that we do get up for and expend energy for. And then it seemed fun. I was able to make it look and feel fun. And I think that that could be helpful to her remaining in her feminine energy and fighting to keep it that way. And then with my son, he gets to see and expect that a woman's going to be calm. He does not like loud noises. Anybody that's loud, he's going to want them to be far away from him. And so I do think that that's a good thing. And that's just something that happened naturally. Part of me used to wish that the son was older, but, this is my way of accepting life, right? So, okay, well, I do believe that there should be a code of conduct. And what that means is that the women are going to be monitors. We're going to be paying attention to things. We're going to manage and maintain and or multiply what we have available. In terms of interpersonal connections with men, I think that we should be supportive. We can be amused. We can be, what inspires him. But it also has to come with respect. In terms of interactions with other women, we need to inform and we can guide if they're younger and motivate. If they're older, we will respect them within reason. Because unfortunately, I do think sometimes we get the short end of the stick. Not all. Pound, not all. We should be teaching our kids to tolerate small differences. That can help us build a community where you can raise kids among a father and other groups of mothers and fathers. We should also be teaching them boundaries. Boundaries would be various between who and in what capacity. They should first see these things, they should understand them, then be able to speak them before implementing. So if you guys haven't noticed, a lot of things that I say have steps to them and has a process that has to happen. Um, okay. So let me ask, does anybody have any other comments or any other questions? Because I only have one last topic, and that is the topic of feminism. Did I send? I don't have your email, Raining Woman. I thought you had changed your mind. Okay, hold on. Let me invite. Okay, I feel old. If my kids were here, they would be definitely laughing at me for taking that long to figure this out. Okay, so can you click that and see if it works, Raining Woman? And so while that's happening, and then I subsequently figure out how to let her in. Uh, what happened? Yeah, there were no bamboozling people in here. It's not what we do over here, okay? So feminism, right? So the way I look at it is in three parts. I may or may not have this accurate, but what I'm saying is this is my understanding of it. The first part was just getting men to see that women are human beings. It was a lot of bad stuff that happened to women. Two was about getting men to respect women as adults. And so the first one, yes, I definitely agree that it was needed and it was helpful. The second wave with getting women to see if they're adults, well, I think that it's been helpful, but I don't know if it was needed because they could have just, been adult about it anyway. I think that a lot of the pushback that I hear from women in that age range is that they had to ask people for things. Nothing, they couldn't make decisions anyway. They were so used to and had to be trapped in being a teenager because they had to get permission. And it kind of plays out even today. Women, y'all joke about us going to the bathroom together and all of this kind of stuff. Everything's a group decision. Do you think this is going to work? How can I convince him of this? Because, it's to avoid pain and not feel rejected or being told no. See, yeah, no bamboozling. Somebody get him. So yeah, get teaching women that they were adults because even though they were human now, a lot of the laws still treated them like they were somebody's property, from your father's house to your husband's house. So I guess that's okay. It's good and bad in that. But this third wave where women now don't want equality, they want to be in control. Let me just say, they didn't ask me. They didn't ask me if that's what I wanted. Okay, what if I didn't want it? What if I wanted something different? Do I get to say so? I don't want to do all of the stuff that they're required to do. And when you see me, it'll be a plus side. Um, okay, are you backstage? Oh, this is hopefully I get to have this a little bit more uh down pat later on in life. Hmm. Okay. So yeah, this third wave, I don't like it. I don't want all of that. I'm not going to do all of that. But then once it's an option, how long do you think it's going to be before it's now a mandate? That's usually how. Oh, okay, look at me. Hi, raining woman.
Oh my goodness, you did perfect.
Thank you. Look, I'm getting all tech savvy over here.
Oh my goodness, you are. I must tell you that. First of all, can everyone hear me? Hey everybody.
Well, I
You
can hear you, and I just want to say thanks for coming on the panel. I actually am very interested to hear what. Oh,
is someone else coming? You did a fabulous job. I
well, thank you.
find everything that you said, all the way down to the mothering, and you saying how when we're nurturing, it can be hard to let go because
Yeah,
you're so attached, because you're very protective. And some people might look at that as being a bad thing, but it's not a bad thing. It's if you're just that nurturing, if you're just that careful, it just is what it is. And it will all balance and work itself out over time.
that's what I think too. I think that a lot of times we could just, in terms of being in feminine and being a woman and a mom, sometimes just withdrawing is enough. We don't have to actively go out and like, because the way I use the word kill on this channel is to end things, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily always shooting someone or stabbing them. Just if you want to kill something, like sometimes we want to kill a certain emotion. If we want to kill that part of us that wants to hold on to our kids too long, sometimes the answer to that is just withdrawing it, and then it time heals all wounds. That's what that's supposed to mean. That's what it means to me. So I'm happy that you are able to co-sign lots of things, because I do get pushback that the way I explain things, the way I say things, sometimes I'm told that it's either too blunt and honest, or either too mean, and people can't do it, and I make people feel bad. So my goal is not to do that. My goal was to explain this in a way that people can feel capable of doing it, because my view of what progress would look like for us as a community is going to include that. I would like to
Mhm.
see a bunch of black women walking down the street pretty and calm and not upset, and they can smile at one another, not feeling the need to compete. I would like us to have a more peaceful existence.
And it's very possible. It is very much doable. And the way that you even speak, though, you articulate it so clearly, and your voice is very calm. It's actually very soothing. So
Am I putting people to sleep over here? And hey,
no,
Rude, I can't believe you came in. Yay. Welcome.
it's not putting anyone to sleep. It's that very soft, it's that feminine voice that a lot of people actually they long to hear, because it's a lot of people that sound rough, and not to take away from who they are, whatever. But when people are used to hearing a lot of loudness, a lot of roughness, and everything, then it makes it hard to believe that another voice can come in and be soft spoken and yet at the same time have such an impact at the same time. And you want to have the impact and you want to be effective. And so the way that you articulated just now, and I know that you will going forward. I mean, because it sounds like that's just who you are, and your tone
Yeah,
of voice
when I
makes
don't have
it
to fight.
exactly. It makes it that much more receptive.
Well, and I used to get a lot of flack as a kid for my voice being very, very squeaky. And when I'm excited and angry and yelling at people, it does come out real, real squeaky and nasally. So as long as I'm able to be calm and relaxed, I can speak like an adult. I don't sound like I'm 8.
Listen to who you're talking to.
Yes, I know. And that's kind of, I'm glad that I got your voice on here. If y'all see Cocaine Kales, catch her somewhere, because she's another one who would be a good person for this conversation. And I don't want it to sound like I just don't like women. I have certain specific women that I love interacting with, and usually these are women who are not followers. So, I don't, if a woman is a follower, I can't do it, because you're going to be following the trend, and the trend now is not helpful. So I
Right.
posted up Wolf in Beta Clothes comment, because, all right, now listen, don't kick me out of the sisterhood, but I'm actually not against polygamy. Ha ha. Thank you very much,
Me
Wolf and
either.
Beta
No,
Clothes.
you know what? Neither am I.
I meant competition, because if you're gonna have a polygamy relationship, then the women can't compete. They have to be willing to work together. And I have a video of my
Exactly.
earlier days posting on how that can happen and what the prerequisites are for polygamy. So thank you very much. Now come back in here and co-sign some stuff, Wolf. All right. But I think that it has a place and a time. I do not agree with polygamy if you don't have the resources to make them all equal, or based on merit. Because if the women are not chosen to be equal, then you need to be able to have the right ratio of things, so that there's no competition, so that the household with however many wives, and it still works together. Because if we, like, men are voting for this time and period in space where they're back to fighting and protecting the land and all of that. We don't have war like that anymore. If we do have a third world war, it's not going to be fisticuffs like how they're saying anyway, right? But in their fantasy that they like to pretend, every dude thinks that he's on 300, right? So
Right.
if we go back to that, then there's not going to be enough men available. Women are going to have to group up, and everybody's not going to have three or four. The poorest men can only afford two. Aw. And then you got the
Fact.
rich kings over here that got like 12. So deal with it. I mean, like, y'all aren't ready for
That's
polygamy. I personally, I would. What did he say down here? Let's see. Oh, I know y'all are okay. Most black male identified women are cool with polygamy. And I've heard that term a lot, and I think that male identified means that you believe you're a man. So I'm not male identified, and so I'm glad that
Yeah,
Wolf posted that. Thank you. I'm glad that
I
somebody
can
noticed.
I go along with these all of these terms and labels that people are trying to put on people. I do
Right,
not receive any of that. No one, no human being can just come around and throw a label on Rain and Woman. I
right,
am labeled. I am labeled as Rain and Woman. You don't get to label me as anything else. I'm sorry, sorry, not sorry.
right.
you don't get to you you don't get to put your stamp because of what you have lack of understanding of. You don't get to label me based on your lack of understanding. And you don't get to label me based upon your group understanding of something else that has nothing to do with me.
Absolutely. And I think that to me is the God complex that black people have. They believe that after meeting you and whatever it is that stood out to you, because let's be real, they're usually coming up with those labels for people after after you do something that stands out to them, either overly good or overly bad, right? So
Right.
to me, that is not higher level of cognitive functioning. That is not adulthood thinking process. An adult would know that you
Right.
have to get to know this person and a pattern of their behaviors. And even then, why do you need to label them if they're not going to be in your life? The only label, you can't condemn people. You can judge them, and that is in my life or out of my life. You can't condemn them to either good or bad. So for anybody to say that they have a label for me and they haven't been there for a big chunk of my life, just kind of to me says that this is a person that needs to not be around me. They're probably going to
Exactly.
do that. They're going to be missing out on opportunities that would be positive for them. They're going to be going towards something that's not, helpful to them, because most of the time, if somebody's faking something, they could do it for a short period of time.
Yep.
So,
That's so.
you would probably be getting fooled your whole entire life. And I just don't have the time for that anymore. Oh, we got some new people. Hey, Cool Gent 87, D Ski Belly, how are you?
Hello.
So,
And
I'm so happy y'all are coming to my new little live. I'm new at this, so we'll see how I do.
I like
Okay,
to
Rainy
add.
Woman.
I like to add on to your statement about competing with each other in polygamy.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I see it is, if you have women that are supposed to be a part of your kingdom, because to me it's kingdom building, right? So
Right,
if you have women supposed to be a part of your fold and a part of your kingdom competing with each other, that is something that is possibly off with with the male, with the head of the household. The king
right.
needs to set things in order, help the ladies to remember that we are all on the same team, and there's no need to compete as a team. Team members don't compete with each other; they compete
Absolutely.
against others,
Yeah, and if he's
and it would
able to
only
set
go
that
off.
together, yeah,
Yeah, it would only that, and whoever's competing is actually not operating in their healthy feminine energy. When you're
right.
competing against others that's on your same team and you're working on the same goal, you're part of one, that would be toxic femininity. That would not be healthy femininity.
Yeah, and toxic femininity, toxic masculinity, from my understanding of those terms, is when you use it hurt, to harm people. So toxic masculinity, there's still a brotherhood. There's still, like, if you're in the same, military or whatever, you're gonna have to work with this person. You have to see them as your brother to protect them and bring them home to their family as well. So if you're using masculine principles to shun or beat down somebody, then that's where you get men who feel like I could never wear a pink button-up shirt. That's gay, and if you're gay, then that means no matter what you've done in life, we're gonna take your wife and all of this kind of, like, it just goes too far. I think it's like the meatheads that you get. They're crushing beer cans on their head, stuff like that. And then with toxic femininity, I normally picture like a woman saying, "Oh no, you didn't buy the right color shoes today, so you're out the group," trying to hurt her on purpose. Just extra, just going too far for no reason. So I put up Corey Lee's comment because she says, "I'd rather stay home. I'd rather stay alone than to share. I enjoy my own company." Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That is your preference. You would rather that. But if we're in a specific type of community, you wouldn't know any different. If you were raised up watching that all the time, you wouldn't know that that's even an option. So you would be prepared for it. We have the ability to do that here. And so I don't think that the United States of America is ever going to institute that because they're the ones that got rid of it and targeted the church that was trying to keep it after everybody else. And so therefore, here, they're not going to say it's okay because then you bring problems into their court system, which costs money, blah, blah, blah. Right. So you would still be able to get a man just to yourself, but you have to find a man that does not have that as a want or an ability as well. So, you got to find the man that would be okay and could provide that for you. So you get the freedom to say that here.
That's so true. And also, someone that really exercises discipline, not just
Hmm.
discipline, but discipline, because
Nice.
it really is it really is natural for men to want other women. That's a natural thing. It takes something spiritual and something higher in them to not chase what they crave. And a lot of times
Right.
it's not personal against any other female, not usually. Not from a healthy state. It's not anything personal against the female.
Well, because this was all instituted in a time period where women did not own resources, they could not work. So therefore, this was seen like I tell men that that wasn't a fantasy situation that y'all like to think of it like it's just gonna be the grotto, women just walking around all for your pleasure. No, you had a responsibility with that as well. It meant that you could
Yes, indeed.
provide and keep all of these women. So if she marries a man who can't who can't afford a second wife, then that's not going to be an option for him. It shouldn't be an option for him, even if we instituted polygamy. So it's way more
That's
into it to where she would be able to get that,
because you would have some people that would even within the laws try to abuse it or use
right?
it, you know, and to be very selfish with the information. And that also is very destructive. That is not being in order. And with all things, there is a decency and order.
Right. And I also just want to put this out there. I'm not going out to look to join married couples or anything like that. Like I'm not just saying that, hey, yes, I want that to happen. My comments in my video was made if this is something that we're going to get ready and go towards as a culture, okay. But there's still, my point is to get everybody to think about what that would entail before, we just start voting for stuff. So
Right.
think about what it would actually be like. And then if that's what we all come to a consensus and say would be good for us, that would help correct some of the things to where we're not angry towards one another anymore and where we can get to a place where we can progress as a culture, then fine. Okay. But as it stands today, that's not the law of the land. Also, we're not in a economic position to be able to do it appropriately. So no, I'm not going out there willing to have some guy bring home all these additional wives and then no,
Health.
because there are
Exactly.
people who are doing it anyway. And from what I hear, there's this white guy somewhere who has four wives, and they all stay like in apartments right next to each other. But they're on assistance, and they have part-time jobs and stuff. And he just goes from house to house. I don't know if he does anything other than the interviews, talking to people about why he's living the life, and he has all these billions of kids or whatever. So it's just that like this is something that I think we all need to think about. I think that it should be on the table. It should be part of the discussion. If that's what we're going to do, because only 10% of black men can afford to live a life and sustain a family, and they have enough to sustain multiple families. All right, well then maybe that'll motivate the ones that don't get wives. So it just, I
Yeah.
feel like we aren't done with this conversation yet.
Yes, I think that we definitely do not need to be afraid of the conversation, and I
Right,
don't think that we should shun the conversation, just push it aside and just be closed minded to it.
right,
Even if we don't agree with it, don't be afraid to have the conversation. It is
right.
okay to disagree.
Exactly. Like, what if this gets voted down and we say nope? One man, one woman. All right. Well, then guess what? Then we're going to need something in place for the ones that don't get somebody to do so that they're not out there messing up other, so that we don't have home wreckers.
Exactly.
We also need to find a way to get some of our black kids out of the foster care system.
Right. And that would be a very ideal situation to help with that.
Exactly. And I think that a lot of people internalize cheating. I don't think that that should be, done anymore. I don't think that that's something, because that to me drives the competition between women. There have been a whole
Mm-hmm.
lot of discussions lately about women, right? So there was a lady here in Houston who almost got kidnapped by an Uber driver.
Oh, Professor, you're in Houston?
Yes, I mean, oh, you didn't know?
No, I knew you were in Texas, but I didn't know you were in Houston.
Oh, yes, ma'am. That's where I be. This is where I
Oh
hang
my
out with
goodness.
them.
Oh, okay. We can get together and have coffee or something, tea or
Oh, so
something.
you're in Houston. Oh, I did not know that. I did not
Yeah,
know.
we can too.
Well, we definitely
That's
can.
that
It sounds
southern.
like it would be very interesting. It sounds like it would be nice. I would like that.
We can make it happen.
Right. So that was one. And then we talk about like all the girls, the young girls and all of their for the D challenges and stuff that's all over Instagram, and they get half naked and twerking everywhere. We talked about the girls who got caught up with the DJ Kid guy. We talk about a whole lot of stuff that all they have in common is that these are women who are going out foraging. That's not where they're supposed to be. So I do think that
Right,
that conversation could solve a lot of these things, because then the women would not be expected. Because see, with these laws in place now where a woman can work, now they're expected. Okay, well, if you don't have a man, then you can provide for yourself. And when I hear women say, "I don't need a man," I think that we were taught that as kids. We were told that so that you're not out there focusing on boys and being what they call fast. So it was supposed to be
right,
meant to keep you busy as a kid, and then when you get older, you know, it was worded wrong, I think. But now this is the result of that.
right, right. Well,
So I do think it's a
somewhere
lot that
along,
goes into that.
yeah, somewhere along the way, they hoodwinked females, especially the black woman, into exchanging her degrees, her education, and her business, her success for a mate,
Right.
and thinking that is what you're supposed to do, when in all actuality, taking care of yourself and being responsible is what you do as an adult. That's an adult thing to do. It doesn't make you independent. It doesn't make you, that's not what makes you a woman for doing that. No, that's what adults do. But when
Right.
you come together with someone, and you're in the right order, you understand that your purpose and your mission, what you were on beforehand, it becomes secondary to the provider, to the man. If you want him to be a full provider and you want to fully trust and surrender to his leadership.
Absolutely. Because see, that was the thing. We were taught, oh well, boys want things that are bad, that are gonna get you in trouble, and he'll be fine and you will be okay. So boys are evil. And so now it's like, why should I surrender to you? It's gonna definitely always be evil, right? So the things that we were taught had a good place, but it's just not turning out that way, because I think somebody dropped the ball in knowing when to let that go.
Yes. Hey, cool gent. Let me let somebody else speak. Is someone else on the panel?
So far it looks like it's just me and you. And then we're gonna end shortly too, because I never meant for this to be a long broadcast. I was gonna try to be the person that kept my lives to under an hour, but I think that we're doing good, right? So I wanted to put Corey Lee's coming up. She's been making some good contributions. She says, I think it started during slavery. Black women were taught to be independent and they don't need a man because at any time their husband could be sold to another plantation. They learn to survive alone. Yes, Yes, I do think that that is correct. But I will say that I'm under the impression that there was some correction after slavery ended, because there was a period of time where the man was in charge of the household because he went out to go work and the women just did little things around the house, or either they sewed or either they worked in a white person's house, things like that. So I do think that we corrected that, but it was still in there. It was still in that thought process, in that brain, of them. And then they did see their husbands get shot or get harmed or injured in some kind of way or not be able to find jobs. That is true. But it morphed at some point to where now our generation remembers parents saying these things. So, I do
Yes,
think both things can be true. And let's see. Cool Jen says, you're absolutely correct, Raining Woman. They want our women to focus on a career in their youth instead of being a wife. Well, yeah, yeah, and I do think it came from a good place, but then, in my view, what I believe happened, right? They told the girl this, but did not tell her when to let it go. And so then she gets up, gets the career, focuses on it heavily because then more men are trying to get her to date them because she has something to show for her time. So now they wanted to date her. They are saying, "Oh, well, we'll take care of you. You don't have to do that. That's a lot of work," because they were being taught that being a man and providing for a family is work. So they were trying, but then she did not accept it, right? For because of what she was taught. And then that started, well, now I don't want a woman to have a degree because that means she's definitely going to have an attitude because all women with degrees feel like they don't need a man. Well, there are women without degrees that feel like they don't need a man. So I want men to not focus on the fact that about the education or the degree or the job or whatever. It's actually already there before she gets that man that can make it worth it. So what do you think about that, Raining Woman?
I I completely agree with what you said, and I also believe that I lost my train of thought real quick, but hold on a second. I also believe that, oh my goodness, I can't believe it just slipped my head.
Well, that's
Give
okay.
me.
Hi, Jonathan Phillips. Welcome. Welcome to the live stream. Oh, look, Wolf and Avatar. I bet he got something that'll bring it back. So, do you know if you were gonna say to Cool Jen or if it was gonna be to me? Do you remember who it was gonna be to?
It's going to be to everybody.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm
Women to
sure as
focus.
we keep going, it'll come back. Most women share a man whether they know it or not. True. Yeah, and that's the point. Is like Lynn, they could just be upfront, and you could know who it is that you're sharing a man with. And look, I always make a joke and say, okay, then I get to go pick her up, and we get in this car, we're gonna go to the gyno together. All right, but then now Ti saying all of this, so it's less funny now. Thanks a lot, Ti. My thing is, why not join up with a man who's honest about it instead of being tricked into it? Well, see, the reason,
Yes.
right, is because the women are still competing. Why does it hurt a woman's
Right.
feeling if a man has another woman or if he cheats on her? Why does it hurt us? And the answer is because we were taught that we are supposed to be so amazing to get him to only commit to us, and only then can you lower the walls. That's not realistic.
It came back to me.
Okay.
So I was going to say that also there comes a teaching along with being a wife.
Yep.
It's not natural for everybody to know how to nurture a house, how to nurture a man, how to nurture a family. You would think if it's in you naturally, you would think that it's natural for other people, but that is not the case, especially when we have so many things in the world to distract the female and to get the female all the way off course. So and to get them off course and to get them to be disorderly. Like
Right.
everything that's on television and mainstream media, it is set to help us be at odds with each other. It is set to help us to stay in as individuals instead of coming together and building families, right? Because if
Right.
you first start leaning on everything that you can do on your own, number one. Number two, looking at everybody as what's in it for me. what's in it from me first, me, where you're never thinking about another person. That's number two. And number three, when there's lack of trust. If everything that you see makes you feel like another individual and you can't trust the opposite sex, then you're not going to be willing to yield to them and they're not going to be willing to provide for you, right? And
Absolutely.
so
I
we have
agree. And that's why I talked about how to form a community earlier, too, because I do think that the
yeah,
individualistic, the willing to step on people to get something that you want, and that just happens to be the flag at the top of the hill that we're trying to get. So I agree with you.
thank you. So yes, we definitely need to do that because otherwise you can have a really good man get with someone who's not prepared and he can have everything in place and be ready and she'll destroy it and vice versa.
Right. I put up Miss Corey Lee's comment because she says, my brother's baby mama share him. Those girls have self-esteem issues though, and daddy issues. Now, I want to say that in after light of what Rating Woman and I just talked about that people are taught, those are the only people still willing to do it right now because it takes a certain type of damage to be able to go through. I mean, to like ignore everything that we're all taught, to ignore everything that we all see and still be willing to do it. It's either a damage or either you were, plucked out of all the influence, had some time and space for clarity, and came out on the side where you are now okay with it. So that's very rare. So you're right. I believe you that there's some low self esteem and that there's some daddy issues because that's what it would take to go through, to wake up every day where the world is telling you not to do this and you're going to do it anyway willingly. So I don't know. I hope that makes sense. So I believe you. Okay, now listen, Wolf, then don't be getting in nobody else chat after this. I'm so shocked. I don't know why all these women are behind me. Cause see, look, all of this stuff right here. A lot of women think that a wife is easy, that being a wife is easy. Sure, it's easy when you have a simp. Really. When you have a true man, you'll be thankful for some help. Now that's true. Women can't handle me singularly. And unfortunately I have to be one of the women, right, that says that when you have a simp, marriage is easier because he will let you do anything. I see a whole lot of women, and I happen to know a whole lot of women that are able to run over their husband, and their husband lets them do whatever, and then is willing to get up and lay his life on the line potentially for her when she is fully in the wrong. There was this meme going around a couple of years ago about if my wife says 2 plus 2 is 7 in public, I'ma agree with her, but when I get home, tell her how stupid she was. No, 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 no. First of all, why do you have a wife just hollering out wrong answers in math like that anyway? But that's like Corley said. Sometimes men, they, you dig them from the bottom of the barrel. Sometimes that happens. So now with Wolf saying women can't handle him singularly, well, that means you figured out something that other men have not figured out, and now you are you teaching younger men to do this, or you just reveling in the fact of being an alpha, and you didn't come. Oh, now you're back in your other channel. Nice. So yeah, so I mean I want you to understand that this comment right here, when you say, well, these women, they just won't leave it alone. Yeah, right, this right here is why they can't handle me singularly. You see a woman see that, what do you think she's gonna do? So anybody that you get out of that gets in your DMs because of this, you can't blame me. Now Jonathan Phillips, let
Right.
me tell you something. uh First of all, I am a lady. All right, I did not order that. Yeah, I hate laugh. I mean, I hate the fighting too. But all of this, listen, it's gonna cost you. You gonna, and I'm talking about intangible stuff. Do you have that? Because no, because he just going. Am I gonna fix him a plate? It depends. What I get out of it. Thank you very
Jonathan, you're
much.
cutting up.
Huh?
But
Yes.
Wolf,
Well, do you see him?
you, I see him. Wolf, when you say that um, one woman cannot handle you singularly,
Well,
honestly,
I've seen him say some
I,
stuff. So I yeah. Go ahead, random
I
woman.
think of, I think that if the man knows how to teach the woman everything that actually she can, I think a mature woman that is in her divine feminine energy actually can handle being a wife and being a single wife. It just takes a great teaching on your part.
Right. Because they'll know what it is. So to be honest with you, it may not be easy, but it would be easy going. So, she would know what to do. It would be natural. It would come out of her. And, when you're in a place of easy going, it means that this is something that you've been taught, that pretty much you're preparing for it even when you're not. So I will give the example, not in terms of femininity, but just in life, right? So there have been times where I accidentally left breadcrumbs for myself where it helped me later on. So I'll put something in a certain
Mhm.
place by accident because I'm busy or whatever, but then when I need it, it's right there next to me and available and easy to get to. And I didn't even purposely plan for that, but it just happened. And I think that that's kind of what it's like being a wife when you were raised with the proper teaching. It'll just automatically be there. You'll already be putting things in place to where you'll be a good wife and it can just come out as needed. So I don't know if that makes sense. Sometimes I
That's
get extra with
no,
the
I it totally
metaphors.
makes sense to me.
But yeah, so to handle him singularly, well, then you know what that means, right? What I'm reading out of this is that means that he puts a lot of time and effort and energy into securing resources to take care of multiple women because they don't complain about it and they're willing to still do it because he's not getting any flack or not getting any flack that bothers him. And with that being said, you're not at the house. You are going to need more hands on deck to put things together. If you bring home more resources, then more women to multiply that because like I talked about earlier, that's one of our natural jobs, then I can see why that would be true, whether he's trolling or not. But yes, I know, Jonathan. I think I remember you from eChat, but
Yes, we're also enjoying the children though. With the more resources the king brings home, then that's also more for us to employ and nurture the children with, because the children are not here just to be entertained. They're here to also be taught, nurtured, and cultivated.
right. Absolutely, because like it's a job. It is a job. It is something that you are supposed to be working and putting in your attention and efforts into. And I think, you know what? I do think that another factor is that we have a lot of people who believe parenting is passive. They only talk to their kids if they're yelling at them or hitting them. Other than that, you're not teaching your kid what they should be doing. You're not giving them something to focus on. So when they just trip and fall into something else, and sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing. And when it's a bad thing, you don't get to now show up like they've disobeyed you. Now there are some kids that are being disobedient, but a lot of times the kid is just bored and came up with something and they didn't know any different. So it could be a function of my job. I do work with kids and families and stuff. So, you know, it could be either way, but the point is it exists. So then therefore that's something that we need to correct in the community. I hate when I hear people say black kids are bad. You can't reason with black kids. Yes, you can, but you can't reason because you didn't learn that
Right.
and you're not focused on it. So you can't reason with kids.
Yes, because it's intentional work. It's like you said, you can't be passive. You're very intentional about it, and it does take time. But that's where your focus is supposed to be. It's not supposed to
Absolutely.
be worried about what they're doing down the street and worry about the Joneses and worry about what's going on TV. Besides learning what to do and what not to do. It's not for you to just be worried about being entertained and not having anything to do. We should be constantly busy with the
Right.
kingdom, with the man kingdom in the house, and it is more than enough to do. So, quite honestly, Topaz, it really makes me wonder for females that say that they're spiritually inclined and that they're in their feminine energy, how they can be involved with someone and have so much time on the internet that's doing
Yes.
something other than focusing and contributing to their home. Period. Even if their
Yes.
man is on the road, like you hear some people say, "Well, my husband is a driver. He's always on the road." I listen. if to in my opinion, if your husband or something is always on the road or whatever, there is so much that you can be doing with your feminine energy to make sure that when he comes home, the place and atmosphere is fully set for him to have a place of refuge, peace, and solace, and he has a desire to be home.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more that you could be focusing on and doing to contribute to him and your household.
Absolutely. Now, this is, of course, when you have two people who understand what it's supposed to be, how it was designed, and how it can be how it can be helpful. I can say that if you have a man that's on the road, then there's nothing wrong with this. But if you have a man that is coming home shortly, because I look at it this way: if he is on his way through the door, there's something that needs to be done. Hey, Slim Duncan, how are you? I'm glad you could make it. There's something that's going to be needed to be done when he walks in the door. Now, if he only walks through the door like twice a week because he has a job where he, is gone for 3 days at a time, then you have a little bit more free time. You've prepared as much as you need to for when he gets back. That's fine. But if you have
Right.
kids that are young, like my kids are older, they have their friends. They don't want to sit around hanging out with me all of the time. They want to be with their friends. So I have free time there. Everything is taken care of. Everything, like, you work before you play. Once your responsibilities are taken care of, then you can do what you want. But if you have a man that doesn't require anything out of you, he's probably requiring some stuff out of somebody else. I have a lot of time to be on the internet now. I would hope that if I was in a relationship, I would not have this much free time, that he would be providing something for
Right.
us to do together. That would just be my hope. And if we're on here
Right.
together, for me, I just don't. I mean, that's not the same as us going out with people together. So for me, it would be less than. But you got some people that's on here with their man, so then I guess it works.
I agree. It would, it couldn't be me though. Like I know
Right,
that it just, I'm so protective of my energy and my spirit that that's just more important.
right, exactly. So like this would be something smaller. We might make an appearance, but it would definitely not be every day. Because I like there's things that I want to do and experience out in life. Everything that I can do and experience out in life, I'm capable of doing already. I've done it already or whatever. So, I know where to go. I know where to I know what the experience is like. It's like I'm not missing anything if I'm doing it by myself. So if my kids were here, if they wanted to
I,
spend more time with mommy instead of their peers, and then it would be stuff that we would experience together. But, they're busy. So it's just like different audiences, I think.
yes. Well, women that want a man will do all in their power to keep him, period. Well, Topaz, thank you for allowing me to come up and share your beautiful platform and your energy. I'm going
Well,
to
thank you.
fall
I'm
back
glad
in
you
the
could add
chat.
to it.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I'm going to fall back in the chat now and let
Okay.
you continue to have control over your lovely stream and your lovely channel.
Well, I'm gonna end shortly because I think hour and a half will be a good place to end. So thank you so much, Rainy Woman. And anytime you want to come back up, just let me know. You're very helpful.
Okay, thank you, dear.
You're welcome. Bye bye. Okay. So Jonathan Phillips says women that want a man will do all in their power to keep him, period. Well, see, that's the thing is what if they don't have it in their power to keep him? Of course, if like I told you earlier, women like to avoid pain, right? One of those pains is rejection. So if she thinks that she has it in her power to keep him, then she probably will try. The thing is, if there's something that she could do but doesn't, she most likely doesn't know that she's capable or doesn't know that it would keep him. So here we go, Wolf in Alpha Attire. You aren't in the presence of a common man. I don't have a huge channel and I don't want one. Don't let the numbers misdirect your attention. Okay. See? Mm-hmm. You said you could handle yourself though, right? And then Jonathan Phillips, I'm a natural poly, but I want to have other women because I travel a lot. So you just want to have them all spread out throughout the United States. Well, I don't know how that's going to work, because then at some point, like, are you going to have like a family reunion type get together with all of these women? Because they're going to have to meet each other. It's going to happen. I'm telling you right now. As women, they're going to want to meet the other ones, because it kind of gives them information on what it is that you do when they're not around. You know why women sneak into y'all man caves? Because we want to know what's in there that's so amazing. Okay? That's why we want to know more about what man that we have. And if it's something that's sneaking, we just automatically believe that it holds the power to the times where you get mad at us, or either the times where you're missing or something. So kinda that is us doing what we have to do to keep you, but y'all don't really like it. That's also why we go through our phone. Ladies, you can thank me later. Slim Duncan is correct. He has to also not want to lose her. And the reason is because once you get those four wives, what is it that would make a woman want to leave you? Do you guys even know? So at some point, I would want to talk to one of you guys to see, whoever is available one day, what is it that you guys think if you lose a woman? Because a lot of times you guys mention that red pill stuff after you get hurt by a woman. What is it do you think that made the woman say that it's okay to hurt you? And here's a tip: it's not just only within her. She doesn't try that on other men. She tried it on you for a reason. She read something in you. So what is it do you think that where you lost her mind first before you lost her morals and respect, and then you lost her body? So I just am gonna put that out there. Um yes. Yes, and I hope you got all of that that's in that avatar picture right there. I hope you have that on hand when, you're meeting these women. No, I'm just kidding. Um, let's see. I think that we have talked about all of the points that I wanted to talk about. And I just want to thank you guys for coming by today. I am going to try to make sure that I hold the shorter live streams, because it's a lot to, I have a tendency, I do talk a lot. I mean, I like engaging with people. So I try to place limits on myself so that I don't go too far overboard. That's part of me being an adult. And plus, I think things get boring and get stale. And I don't have the energy to be the one hosting for 8 hours. I can attend somebody else's live stream for 8 and 12 hours, like in 3 days, like y'all do. But I can't host it for that amount of time. I think my ADHD kicks in and I got to do something else. So, with that being said, guys, I want to thank everybody for coming by, and I will see you guys tomorrow. I want to do a live stream tomorrow regarding mental health in the Black community, and I hope y'all can come by. Talk to you later.